Did Matas Buzelis shine at All-Star Weekend like we hoped he would? No. Also, who has the most to prove on the Bulls roster for the remaining part of the season? Me and Pat are going to discuss all that plus our thoughts on the All-Star Weekend overall right after this.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. That's Pat the Designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze, and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central, Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages, and podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Pat, you know who didn't win anything? Matas Buzelis over All-Star Weekend. You know what it is? We'll start off talking about his dunk contest, right? Like, the dunk contest, the second dunk was great. And what he was trying to do with that first dunk was really creative. But when he walked out of that first dunk without being able to complete it, there was no chance in hell that he was going to advance. But even on top of that, it's unfortunate, but maybe he learned something. I think he did say that he would be open to competing again in the future. How you feeling about his dunk contest, Pat?
It was terrible. Like, as your second dunk, not enough power. If you're gonna do a dunk like that, I love the athleticism on it, but you got to come with the power. That's what it's always been. You know, athleticism, creativity, power. The first dunk, I don't like the fact that it seemed like there wasn't something else he could have gone to. You know what I mean? If you feel like you're
locked in with that one dunk.
Yeah, he locked in completely, and he was like, "I'm gonna get it done." It was like, and I had to tell. I think it was Joel was talking about this, and he was like, it just seemed like they didn't prepare enough. Nobody prepared for this. Nobody. And I was like, they are kind of playing an NBA season. Like, usually this is something you do after practice every now and then. It's not a every single day thing. Most people kind of do it that way. Vince Carter famously talks about how he scrapped his entire dunk routine when he got there because he saw who was dunking and realized, oh, none of these dunks are going to win, and hadn't tried any of the dunks he did in his dunk contest before. So, like, some guys are just in-game dunkers. I think that may be what Matas is. I think he does have the creativity. Get him in the open floor, he can do a lot of amazing things. But to do it on a stage like that, that is a special kind of dunker. It's why Mac McClung keeps winning it. He is just built for that kind of competition, that kind of contest. And to me, I thought that he was leaps and bounds the best dunker by far. And unfortunately, it seems like there's no one in the NBA even close.
Yeah, I mean, I think here's the thing, right? I do think that, like, the thing that hurt Matas is that once he didn't land that dunk the first, like, 2 or 3 times, he should have went to something that he could complete easier just to get the points on the board. Yeah, because, I mean, to do something like that. But you know, it is what it is. You live and you learn. But I love Kevin Love's tweet after this. Did I send it to you? Kevin Love tweeted, he was like, you want to get more people involved in the dunk contest? How about the fact that Mac McClung's won 3 dunk contests in a row during Black History Month? I was like, you know what? Sometime the realest in the room isn't even because that was the realest tweet you could have on that topic at all, bro.
You want to know what's going to get these guys back in? Racism. Let's get after it.
I'm going to try to find it so I can not paraphrase and read the tweet directly. But when I saw it, I was like, you know what, Kevin? Here goes exactly. A great way to fix All-Star Weekend Saturday night. Let the overwhelming majority of the NBA know that Mac McClung has won 3 straight dunk contests during Black History Month.
You gonna get Anthony Edwards to do it? No, realistically speaking,
is already saying alluding to being in it next year, but we'll see if he actually does.
Realistically, that's kind of. I mean, the All-Star Weekend to me was kind of a letdown, and we'll talk about the whole thing. But the dunk contest specifically, I thought once it felt like the hope was that Matas was going to be that guy that could dethrone Matt, right? Like he seemed like the obvious answer, and Stephen Cowles, I mean. He's up there. Good grief. He's dominating. He's jamming the basketball everywhere. But to me, it felt like everybody thought Matas could do it. And when he missed that first dunk, it was like, oh no, this is going to be a G League win again, isn't it? Here we go. This is what we're doing. So it was an interesting dunk contest to say the least.
Let me ask you this question, Pat. Do you think that the dunk contest, are we going to get stars to ever get back in the dunk contest, or should the NBA actually open it up? I get it. It's a celebration of the NBA and all that. Should they open it up and actually just do what the Bulls do during Bulls Fest? Invite the dunk contest to the best dunkers in the world, whether they're in the NBA or G League or not. Because there's a lot of dunkers out there that would absolutely thrive on a stage like this and actually make it a more entertaining. Do you think it has to be tied to the names that people recognize?
I think if you're going to do the NBA dunk contest, then yeah, it should be NBA players. I get it. McClug's, not an NBA player, and somebody needs to dethrone him so he can stop doing this. I think you're coming up on a generation that will put more into it because they kind of see how fans are reacting to the league. And I feel like the generation that is coming up cares a heck of a lot more about the social media view of them than maybe a LeBron and a Kevin Durant. Oh, well, let me take Kevin Durant out of there. Then maybe a LeBron that ain't Kobe Bryant. Then hey, man, I threw KD in there just off.
Hey, you got a long list before you get to KD there, my brother.
KD cares, but the only thing he'll care about is brushing his hair. Yeah. But I just think that, with that added into it, you will probably get some of those stars that look back at some of the guys who did it before, Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, and took pride in it and go, oh, okay, this is kind of a way to elevate your name as well.
Yeah, for sure. Now, he also competed. He was a late addition to the Rising Stars game to go in for Eve Missy. He didn't really have, I don't want to make it seem like he played, like the stat line isn't anything, but there weren't really a lot of players with great stat lines in this game. It's not like they were running like some sets or anything like that. It was a glorified exhibition. But how'd you feel about his performance in Rising Stars?
I thought for the limited time that he had, he played fine. I thought he played very modest-like. He kind of sold the game when nobody's really talking about that. He kind of sold the game by trying to take the ball at the end, and I don't know what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to make a layup, but a lot of contact on him. They wasn't calling nothing all weekend. And the ball ended up, I don't know if it was a turnover out of bounds or if they got a steal off of it, but they immediately scored a bucket that pretty much made it a one more point and the game's over. But to me, it was solid. It was a very modest performance. He got in the game. He showed you that he could do some really good things. And then he sat down. Like, that's kind of been the theme of Modest to this point. He was a late addition. His name's in the stat sheet. I think that you got to say that accounts for something.
Yeah, this is last year in the Rising Stars game. He actually didn't he hit a game winner in the last year? When he was on the Matas Buzelis, when he was in the Rising Stars as part of the G League team.
I do believe that is correct because he was. Yeah. I think he might have got the game winner in that G League game because it was. Can we double check that? Let me double check that. I think I should be able to find it.
But I'll talk while you look for that. But I overall, like, shout out to Modest for he was the only Bulls player that the only player that represented the Bulls in the entirety of the weekend. So there he's already going to get some love from me on that one. But I do think he's probably going to try to compete in another dunk contest. I do think he's probably going to do much better in that case as well on that one. And I think overall, like, shout out to Modest, man. But it does highlight the fact that we are very, very far off from our players being viewed in the same light as some of these other teams.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm trying to see because I forgot the format last year was stupid too.
Yeah, the format was stupid last year.
I don't know. I can't find it. I was trying to find the last shot, but it's like two halves of two games.
It is what it is. It is.
I'm sorry. It was stupid. But I do believe that is correct that he hit a game winner in that whole thing. I mean, to me, the big part of all of this was, Modest getting the experience of being able to play. Modest getting the experience of being able to go out there and compete against some of the best up and coming players. And I say this, it was competitive. It was a competitive game. There was some hard defense played. I thought that they did a good job trying to I feel like you got a lot of intensity from the next generation of hoopers. And of course, everybody was trying to show up the G League stars who end up almost surprising a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. Well, we'll get into it, the All-Star weekend overall in the next segment, which we're going to be breaking that down. But we do have to talk about the rest of the way from the All-Star break. The Bulls, we have 27 games left remaining on the season. We've already kind of talked about our win-losses, but On today's episode, we're going to talk about the players that have the most to prove after the All-Star break. But first, we got to get to a message from Hungry Root. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've had this ongoing problem. I just don't have time. Between work, life, and trying to eat healthier, I was constantly feeling stressed out. I go to the store, buy things I didn't need, and end up with no time to actually cook. And sticking to my health goals, that was a struggle too. But everything changed when I discovered Hunger Group. Honestly, it's been a game changer. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. With Hunger Root, it's like having a personal shopper and a nutritionist all at once. They take care of my grocery shopping, recommending meals and groceries based on my taste and health goals, from anti-inflammatory to high protein and gluten-free options. And the best part, every meal is ready in 15 minutes or less. I'm talking quick, healthy meals that actually taste great, all delivered straight to my door. It's been a huge time saver and has made healthy eating so much simpler. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as I do. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, and the code is LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of choice for life. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Code LockedOnNBA. Don't miss out. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. All right, Pat. So there are some questions coming in, of course, that we have to figure out between now and the end of the season. One of the biggest ones is Josh Giddey and his pending contract. You got Coby White potentially being moved. Is he going to, show something to where that value can get up, or even maybe play well enough to the Bulls feel comfortable giving him an extension early, things like that? Io, Matas' minutes. So a handful of questions. The one I want to throw to you on this one is, which of the players that have some things around them do you think have the most to prove? I actually have a surprising one, but who's the one that you think has the most to prove between now and the end of the season?
Mine might be a little surprising for some people too. Matas Buzelis.
Okay.
You need answers on this team. I don't think Josh Giddey's an answer that can't be asked with a different question, right? Lonzo Ball is not an answer that can't be asked with a different question. Coby White seems like he's not an answer that can't be asked with a different question. Matas Buzelis, if he becomes an answer, if he proves to be an answer, affects the way you draft, unless you end up almost getting Cooper Flag, right? That's different. But I think he affects the way you draft because, and by answer, I mean somebody that you leave this season going, oh boy, we may have a star on our hands. We may have somebody who, when given the opportunity, has taken full advantage of it and has surpassed our expectations. We have to start building new expectations because he surpassed everything that we want. And he's shown the flashes of that. But can you do it on a consistent basis? That's been one of the biggest questions with just about everybody on this Bulls team. But if he gives you that answer and the Bulls sit, somewhere around 9 or 10, I think it gives you that option to kind of go, okay, we need best player available no matter what, but maybe we don't need the best small forward available right now, or best power forward, however you want to play him in this offense, right? Maybe we need to go with the best point guard that's available, or maybe we need to go with the best shooting guard that's available, or dare I say, and I know this is a novel concept for the Chicago Bulls, maybe we need to go with the best big man that's available. There's some really good 7-footers in this upcoming draft, and I think there's an opportunity for you to go out and get them, to add them to a team that now wants to be a nice little run and gun team, now wants to be up tempo, now wants to move the ball a ton before you take a lot of 3-point shots. Like a team that is finally catching up to the modern era of basketball. I think if Matas gives you that answer, it's one less thing you actually have to go in the next season worrying about, because everybody else to me is still a question.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's a question. I do think Matas, like the nature of being a rookie, I just don't kind of throw him in there and that he has a lot to prove because it's a rookie under Billy Donovan. But everything you said is 100% valid. If Matas Buzelis starts being the answer to some of these questions that the Bulls have, it makes things start being a lot kind of clearer. Right now, I've said for a while, the Bulls need to go into this draft drafting the best player available because we just need star potential, right? But if Matas starts answering some of those questions now that he's probably going to finish the season a starter, that starts eliminating those for you. And that's really what it's about. Every step, every transaction period, whether it's free agency, draft, you want to start trying to eliminate some questions. So I would love to see Matas start being the answer to some of those because it just makes our future brighter But I'm going to say that I had a surprising player, and I don't necessarily mean that he has a lot to prove for the Bulls necessarily. I
Marko
honestly think it's,
Say Marko Simonovic?
Oh, he doesn't have. He's not the answer to any question except who sucks. But actually, Trey Jones. Trey Jones is giving the Bulls a lot of minutes, and I think when you look at positions, much like his brother Tyus Jones, he went to that Suns team, and while he's not the player that everybody's looking at and saying his play there has been really good. When that team has looked good, it's come via, a lot due to Trey Jones actually running that team as a point guard.
Yeah.
Or Tyus Jones, as to say. Trey Jones is in a similar position. The advanced analytics love Trey Jones. He's a high assist, low turnover ratio guy, right? Solid defensively, even with his size. I think that especially Trey Jones being an unrestricted free agent, he continues to look good. Now, the opportunities, if Lonzo's healthy, is probably not going to be there hugely for him. But I think Trey Jones has a lot to prove between now and the end of the season, because that could be the determining factor between, is he fighting for a deal, taking a vet minimum deal, or is the team going to look at him and say, hey, we need some really solid point guard play, and Trey Jones is the guy that can give us that.
To me, Trey Jones follows a model for the Bulls that I think they want to go down. The problem is that, you traded for Josh Giddey. Are you in kind of a tough situation where while what he's giving you offensively is fine. Assist-wise, I think he's starting to get the numbers up, starting to get a little bit more consistent. Scoring-wise, he's going to be what he's going to be. He's going to be around 12 to 15 points per game. It's not going to be crazy. Every now and then he'll give you the big scoring games, and he's done that a little bit more as of late. The defense, is going to be a problem for you. And I do wonder, can Trey Jones do enough to take over where Josh Giddey kind of fit in, right? Because that's really the asset that you look at Trey Jones for. Defensive ability, he's averaging a steal and a half since he's been with the Bulls here, almost 2 steals a game. I think he has had 2 steals in both of the Pistons game, even though we got clapped in both of them. Shot the basketball efficiently, shot it much more in that second Pistons game, and then the assist numbers, right? Those are the things that you really look at Trey Jones as a player for. Josh Giddey wins on the rebounding side, in that the IQs are there with both players. Now, granted, this is, again, like I said, the Bulls. They could bring both guards back, and that could be their move for the offseason. But I would think you want to pick one guard over the other. And to me, that's kind of the tough spot that he's in, because we have a lot invested in Josh Giddey being here in the future.
I just want to make it clear. There is a high probability that, and you can take high as in whatever way you want to take it, that Josh Giddey, Lonzo Ball, Ayo Dosunmu, Coby White, and Trey Jones are all on the roster next season.
And by the way, they
that
all will probably be in a lineup together at some point. They will probably all be. We really like Josh Giddey at some small ball 5. What? What? Just
It's
the people are tall doesn't
true.
make them centers, right?
They still there are new centers coming in the league every single season. You know that, right? Yeah, but we feel like we can be revolutionary, by running an all 5 guard. Matter of fact, we're gonna go with the first 6-man all guard rotation. This is all 6 players, the first 6 players off the bench, all guard.
That's funny to me, dog. Shout out David Lattimore with the comment. He said, I think Chicago and the media are putting way too much pressure on Matas. He's good, but in no way elite. Well, that's the part of playing in Chicago. There is pressure to be great, especially when you're a high draft pick. He's a top 10 pick in the NBA draft. That means there's going to be pressure on him to be successful.
I think people need to realize is that's just the pressure of being a lottery pick in general. Like, are people putting a little bit too much pressure on Matas? Yeah, because I had a conversation with somebody who was like, Matas clearly is the only player that's going to become a star on this Bulls team. I'm like, what have you seen from him yet to say that he's a star? Like, He's not one yet. He's trying to prove that. But there's nothing wrong. Like, pressure, I think, you know what it is? I think the P. Will of it all. We've come to think that pressure is somehow negative because of how P. Will has dealt with pressure. Matas is the type of player that I want to put pressure on Matas Buzelis, because he has the mindset to me that says you put pressure on him, he's going to want to prove you wrong. Yeah, and I think he puts more pressure on himself than any of us can anyway.
And the thing I give him credit for is, we're still seeing him essentially be the 4th option. Yeah. What can he be as the number 1? What can he be if you give him 18 shots a game? What can he be if you give him 22 shots a game? That's the thing that we're not seeing right now. We saw him go 10 for 10, 4 for 4 on 10 or 24 points on 10 shots. We've seen him he has put up 16 and 5 on 10 shots. He's consistently been around 10 shots. I think that's the thing, right? Where the second half of the season, why I say he has the most to prove, give him more and see kind of where that line stops. That's not pressure, that's opportunity.
That's a great way. Pressure versus opportunity. Well, we got the opportunity to move into an ad break. Go ahead, Pat.
Hey, man, we got to tell you guys all about FanDuel before we get into this All-Star weekend and give our thoughts on the new format that Draymond Green loves so much. But before we do that, we got to tell you guys all about, hold up, give it a second, and FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on the fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into same-game parlays. You know what was very interesting that I saw on FanDuel this weekend, Haize? You could bet on Drewski points in the celebrity All-Star game.
If you've reached the point to where you're betting on Drewski, never mind. Go ahead. Let's finish.
By the way, and not taking the under. Yeah, and not. I think they had that bug set at 4.5. I was like, that's a lock on the under, right, boy? Drewski was looking like Spice Adams out there, looking like what was buddy name? Did he be doing Tyrone Biggums? Is that? Bro. No, that's Dave Chappelle. What's Dave Chappelle? I forget.
Ha Davis? No, that's a different guy.
No, that's an actual character.
That's actual.
No, this ain't working out anyway. Right now, new FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. Oh, there it is.
You know what would have been the better bet is how many times did Drewski have to hit the oxygen? How much time did he have to take an oxygen shot while he was out there?
While nobody was watching it.
Yeah. like that Russell Westbrook gif where he's hiding the food. That's Drewski with the oxygen. Anyway.
Hey, Drewski, low key, he's like a hilarious, weird athlete. Like, I don't know if you saw him at like the Pro Bowl, but he threw like a 45-yard dime that hit Duke Dennis in the hands for a touchdown. I was like,
listen, everybody can do a little something right from time to time. I mean, it is what tape never lies exists. So, I mean, this shows you that you don't have to have much skill to have some type of success around here. Nonetheless, with that said, Pat, All-Star Weekend, we had a lot of format changes over the course of All-Star Weekend. And
where'd that beef come from? What just happened?
Listen, anyway, there's a lot of format changes for All-Star Weekend. I think before we get into the changes of the game, Chris Paul and Wemby being disqualified for taking advantage. How'd you and that please clear up some things. We talked about it over on Locked On NBA. I personally think I look at that and I say that's Chris Paul realizing how to take advantage. Doug thought it could actually be Wemby that was the one that thought to take advantage. I think that's completely a Chris Paul move.
100% a Chris Paul move. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Paul cheating? What? I don't know what's up with people's idea of Chris Paul.
I don't know.
Like,
bro.
how did he become this golden child that never does anything wrong?
Commercials?
I'm so confused. Like we always see like almost everyone hate Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Except for the LeBronites that like, him and Melo and all of them that are boys. And yet everybody sits there and tries to protect Chris Paul like he's the golden child of the NBA. I don't know what y'all saw that made y'all believe this, but he's not. Chris Paul cheating is par for the course. You know how many times I have seen the footage of Chris Paul going through a screen and punching somebody in the nuts? But we don't talk about him like Draymond Green. I don't get it, bro. I honestly don't. Maybe it's because he's
State
short.
Farm commercials. That's it. It had to be the State Farm commercial.
Man, it's been years though, man. It's been back when he was in Charlotte that Muggs was rocking with him this
He's been
way,
in
bro.
State Farm commercials since then.
Has he?
Chris Paul's been in State Farm commercials since his second or third year in the league.
Oh, no, that's right, because there was a commercial about him leaving Charlotte to go to the Clippers. Yeah. I guess, man. I guess. Listen, I got 10 point guards better than Chris Paul. So yeah, I mean, that's just me though.
Okay. Anyway, let's move on from that. All-Star game, new tournament style All-Star game. Me and you had a conversation off the phone off podcast about this.
Yeah.
So many stoppages in play. So many stoppages between concerts. Kevin Hart, how'd you feel about them basically having an MC of the night as well in Kevin Hart?
It was bad. It was bad. I can't even imagine from an athlete standpoint. It was bad. It wasn't cohesive. The format itself, I think, was a joke. You know what I mean? The concept, I didn't need In Vogue in the middle of my basketball. If you know what it felt like? It felt like when I log on to 2K to play basketball, and for some reason I have to run through like a GTA map to go play basketball. That's what it felt like. Like, why am I taking all these detours? Why do I have to talk to people? Why can't I just play basketball? You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't a fan of it at all. I thought the execution of like the concerts and stuff like that was well done, but it had no place being there.
That's fair. Yeah, I think that they have something with this tournament style. Like, I really think that this is something I want to keep them refining, that they have something here with All-Star Weekend with the tournament style, but you got to cut out, like, I get it, you wanted to make it this event. That's what a pregame, that's what a postgame is, right? Like, have that, like, during the game.
Well, the halftime is.
Yeah, and halftime as well. I don't need a bunch of cutaways other than those times. I don't need that. So if they can strike that balance, I get it that they have to put on a show, they have to entertain, but if they can find the balance between the casuals and the basketball purists and how to present that to them, which is a way that it's been done all the time. The Super Bowl is showing you how to do that. Not to say that the All-Star game is ever at Super Bowl level, but they don't do a bunch of cutaways to concerts between quarters in the Super Bowl. What makes you think we want to see it at All-Star Weekend for the NBA? We don't.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't follow it. I put it on TV too. I was like, I got to watch it because I cover the league. But what?
You good.
Oh, I was like, I gotta watch it because I cover the league. But listen, the NBA All-Star game lost to hockey this weekend. I was tapped in on hockey. Like, I legitimately cut on the Tournament of Worlds for the hockey game, and I'm 9 seconds into the game. They throwing hands. I'm like, wait a minute, what are we doing? They booing the national anthem. America was like, we can't play that. They dropped the gloves. They was like, only we can talk about our country. They throwing them down. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm locked. Now is this the hockey game is some of the best sports I watched this whole the whole month of February, and that includes the Super Bowl because the Chiefs got clapped. Like,
I mean, hey, that's what in the NBA, that's what they're battling with. So they got to figure it out. I do think, like I said, I want to give them credit because I do think that they're on to something with this tournament style thing. It's not to say that it's a finished product yet. They still got some things even that they need to work on with that. But I like that part of it. Just eliminate everything else, man. And maybe that's just the old. Maybe I'm finally reached that get off my yard, old man status. But something got to give with that to me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a. I think you've gone too far away from what people really are looking to see to try and circumvent the players showing effort.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what it came down to. And I will say this, it worked. They showed effort.
Yeah.
It was one of the most competitive All-Star games I've watched in a long time. That's a problem though. Because it still wasn't a good All-Star game. So for me, I don't know, man. I'm just go back to East-West and actually have guys that want to compete. If you compete like this in a regular All-Star game, that's all fans are asking for. I don't think it's tough to figure out what fans are asking for. Oh, by the way, if you're like the greatest player in history, maybe, don't let people know 10 minutes before the game that you're sitting out, Mr. GOAT.
That is a story for another day, Pat. Any last thoughts before we get up out of here? Which is, by the way, shout out, my first episode of Locked on Bulls with no hat. And it wasn't intentional. I just realized I didn't have a hat on. Literally, I just looked up and realized I didn't.
I feel like you've probably done an episode.
Bulls? No, Locked on Bulls, I always have a hat on.
I feel like you've had a fresh fade that you wanted to show off every now and then.
I always have a fresh fade. Like, it's part of the identity. Make sure you guys follow us at Locked on Bulls. Man, you can follow Pat at Pat the Designer. You can follow me at CEO Haize. Locked on Bulls is free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, and Roku TV. Love you guys. Go Bulls. See y'all tomorrow. Peace.
Peace.